Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the Guideposts Group's charity or challenges for charity, right? And this so far is a fundraiser for Dawood down there in Lahore, Pakistan, so that he can start serving his children. And also it's content and information that's provided as donation for the Great School of Wizardry. So moving forward, we have both our junior members of the community and our older members of the community joining us today, and that we can talk about and provide resource and solution for those individuals who are looking to apply sorceries, different concepts, higher levels of thought, right? Ways to integrate their business without having to go through all of the bullshit of what most people go through when it comes to their business, because they don't know how they're going to put their thing together. They just know that they have a thing and they want to put it together, but they don't know what they're going to do, right? And it's not about creating the content. I don't care about how you create your content. You can do that in any kind of way, right? As Gordon, or as Paul says yesterday, right? He was talking about breaking the script, you know, attracting the people that you want to attract and repelling the people that you don't. That's the root of marketing, right? You want people that are going to be in the room and listen to you and want to be there, right? And it's the enrollment process that people go through with either themselves or their other projects that will allow them to do that endlessly, right? The more you have these conversations, the better your services become as client interactive people, right? As people that are coaches for this stuff. Because as you coach this stuff, as you walk people through whatever it is that they're going to go through in life anyway, if they choose to listen to you in their time of need, great. You just have to make sure that you handle it appropriately, right? If they've got a gap in their life and you have a solution for them and you provide it to them, that's all you can do. It's up to them to listen. It's up to them to integrate it. It's up to them to be the ones that say, okay, I learned a thing. Now I want to apply the thing, right? And so Mike has done this. Daniel has done this. Sandy in the background. Can't see her. Say hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Sandy does this, right? And we have other people doing this in different kind of ways. So as you go through and you think about it, you know, you get the copy of the video sent in your email because you didn't show up live today like Mike and Daniel and Sandy did, right? Tough shit for you. You lose out because today's a mastermind day. And now what is a mastermind? A mastermind is a collective of people, right? But more than that, I'm just going to shut up and I'm going to let Napoleon Hill talk about it for a little bit. All right. And then we're going to do an exercise because today's fun and there's interaction, like we're doing things. All right. So everybody got their speakers on, what have you. We're doing this thing. Dan, what do you see? Mike?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see.
An idea of how important it is, and I ask not, O divine providence, for more riches, but more wisdom with which to accept and use wisely the riches I received at birth in the form of the power to control and direct my mind to whatever ends I desire. If you are not too successful or self-satisfied to accept and express this profound prayer, if you accept it and express it in the same spirit of humble sincerity in which I pass it on to you, a new and a better world will reveal itself to you. A world in which you will see reflected the circumstances and the things which you yourself have created. In my next visit, I will give you a description of the second principle of success, through the application of which you may make use of the education and experience of other people and get the necessary help you may need in attaining your definite major purpose in life. And now let me close this, our first visit, with my favorite expression of gratitude. O divine providence, I ask not for more riches, but more wisdom with which to make wiser use of the riches you gave me at birth, consisting in the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever ends I desire.
Yay, mentalism.
Yay.
We come now to the second of the 17 principles which lead to the master key with which you may open the door to the attainment of your definite major purpose in life. This principle of success is called the mastermind principle. I want you to understand the nature of the mastermind principle because you must use it before you can take possession of the master key. An understandable definition of the mastermind is this. It consists of two or more people who work in perfect harmony for the attainment of a definite purpose. Now, here are some interesting facts about the mastermind which give you an idea of how important it is and how necessary that you embrace this principle and make use of it in attaining success in your chosen occupation. First of all, it is the principle through which you may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and perhaps the capital of other people in carrying out your own plans in life. It is the principle through which you can accomplish in 1 year more than you could accomplish without it in a lifetime if you depended entirely upon your own efforts for success. And I have heard well-informed Bible students say that the first known application of the mastermind was that which existed between the Nazarene and his 12 disciples. Of one fact, I am absolutely sure. When you form a true mastermind alliance with others and work with them in a spirit of perfect harmony, you can draw freely upon the spiritual forces within you in carrying out your plans and desires. I also know that the mastermind principle can give you absolute protection against failure, provided always that your purpose in using this principle is beneficial to all whom you influence. In my research while organizing the science of success, I had the collaboration of practically every outstanding, successful man this country has produced during the past 50 years. And I can tell you definitely that their success was due in the main to their knowledge and application of the mastermind principle. I wish also to call your attention to the fact that our great American way of life and our unmatchable system of free enterprise have been built upon the mastermind principle. The greatest document ever conceived by the mind of man is a perfect example of the mastermind principle in action. It is the Declaration of Independence, and the best evidence of the importance of maintaining perfect harmony in a mastermind alliance may be found in the fact that the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence knew full well that it might turn out to be either a license of freedom for all mankind or a death warrant which would cause each of the signers to be hanged. Now let us see how the mastermind principle has brought success to people whom we all know. First, consider when Kate Smith began her career as a singer. She had difficulty in earning enough from her singing to pay her living expenses. And she perhaps never would have made her singing pay if she had not discovered and applied the mastermind principle, which gave her access to the master key to success when she formed a mastermind alliance with Ted Collins. And according to a report I saw in Reader's Digest, Kate Smith has earned upwards of $30 million, and she is still in the upper brackets of income. Two, I remember when Edgar Bergen and that cute little block of wood known as Charlie McCarthy used to play anywhere they could get an engagement. And I rather suspect that often all they got for their services was a meal. But Edgar Bergen is a smart man in the field of entertainment. So he formed a mastermind alliance which introduced him and Charlie to millions of people by radio and television. And I suspect he is not concerned about money any longer. And you may be surprised when I tell you that the great Ford industrial empire started with the formation of a mastermind alliance between Henry Ford and his wife. At the beginning of his career, Henry Ford was shy and lacking in self-confidence. It was Mrs. Ford who inspired Henry Ford with the faith and the courage to go ahead with the perfection of his horseless carriage. Although his relatives and neighbors generally tried to discourage him from wasting his time with the contraption, as they called it. Four, the Federation of States, known as the United States of America, is the richest and the most powerful nation civilization has yet produced. And the secret of our strength and riches consists in our form of government through which all our states function in a spirit of harmony based on the mastermind principle, through a central federal government located at Washington. And now a word to you personally. If you work for a salary or wages, you have a marvelous opportunity to promote yourself into a higher income and a more responsible position by forming a mastermind alliance with your associate workers, including the management. In my next visit, I will give you further instructions on how to apply the mastermind principle so as to increase your own income and promote yourself to a higher position with the full cooperation of your management. Yes, that is correct. I will show you how to write your own price tag, fix your own wages, establish your own working hours, and give yourself financial independence. But right now, I want you to do 3 things before our next visit. First, decide definitely where you wish to be and what you wish to be doing during the next 3 years. And second, decide how much money you desire to be making and what you are going to do to earn it. And third, form a mastermind alliance with at least one person in your immediate family and at least one other person among those to whom you are selling your services. By taking these 3 steps, you will have gone a long way toward appropriating the great master key to success. There is no such thing as something for nothing. Everything, including your personal success, has a price that must be paid. And the only price you are requested to pay for the present is the effort necessary to do 3 simple things that I have suggested. Now, before you begin to take the 3 steps I have suggested, there is one important fact I wish you to remember, and it is this. Control your mental attitude and make yourself friendly and agreeable with everyone with whom you are closely associated if you expect friendly cooperation in return. Indifference cannot create a mastermind alliance for you. A negative mental attitude can bring you nothing but failure. Remember always, you are where you are and what you are because of your mental attitude in which you relate yourself to other people. Remember also, your mental attitude is the one and the only thing over which you have complete control. Success is something which has to be planned, and success is something which has to be earned in advance. True, there is such a thing as luck, but just remember that luck is something you can create for yourself if you know the rules and follow them just as I give them to you. Remember, too, that success in the higher brackets of achievement is something that can be had only by taking others along with you. And the best definition of success, which I know, is this. Success is the knowledge with which to get whatever you want from life without violating the rights of others and by helping others to acquire it. There is a known formula for the attainment of success, and it is as definite and certain as are the rules of mathematics or the principles of science. My purpose in these visits is to bring you that formula in simple terms that you can understand and apply. But I can never give you that for which you are not ready. If you are ready to advance into the higher brackets of success, you will recognize this fact by your willingness to follow the simple instructions I shall give you as we go along. If Kate Smith had not been ready for success when she formed a mastermind alliance with Ted Collins, he couldn't have brought her success. This thing called success is a very profound and interesting thing because the line of demarcation between success and failure is so slight that it is often hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. For example, in my association with the late Henry Ford, I recognized that he had thousands of people working for him who had much more education than he, more magnetic personalities, more ability to make friends, and a much better chance of succeeding than Mr. Ford had when he was working for wages. But Mr. Ford had one simple quality the others who worked for him did not possess. The same quality I will clearly describe for you in my future visits with you. Meanwhile, I would be interested in knowing if you can describe this one simple quality Henry Ford possessed, which made him the greatest industrialist this nation has ever produced. In my next visit, I will give you a definite clue as to the success quality which helped Henry Ford spread his influence throughout the world and make himself richer than Croesus, despite the fact that he had only a meager common school education. Until then, please be of good cheer, will you? And just remember that your only real limitation is the one you accept and set up in your own mind.
right?
Mentalism.
Mentalism. Mentalism is the foundation of our country. Mentalism is the foundation of the Western world, primarily. And so
Thank you.
this is why it is so important to study who's doing what in the marketplace. This is why it's important to study John Asseroff. This is why it's important to study Dan Fleischman and Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins and Pedro and Pete and all the people, right? It's like alphabet soup. Everybody has a purpose, right? But they're able to tap into the deftness of their purpose because they found something that lights them up in a way that they want to do it, right? It's like, I don't like teaching business. I like teaching witchcraft. I like teaching sorcery. Why? Because it's fucking fun, right?
It is indeed.
Standard operating procedures for a retail environment. I'm tired of those, man. I could do that shit all day long, right? But sorcery, that's the stuff, man. And what Napoleon Hill is talking about, those three principles. You got your pens ready, right? Because we're gonna fucking do that. What do you wish to be, and what do you wish to be doing in the next 3 years? Right? Write it down, but I want you to do something very interesting when you do this, okay? I want you to write it down. What do you want to do in year 1? What do you want to do in year 2? And I want you to write down what do you want to do in year 3? And then I'm going to break down how you can look at that so that we can actually get that done. See? Masterminding. Oh my God. Right? And so to do those 3 years of operations immediately, right? We're going to go back to what we talked about yesterday. Okay. What's your first level stuff? What are your operations going to look like? You know, what are your day-to-day operations? What do you wake up in the morning doing? What do you go to bed at night doing? What do you think about during the day, and how do you work it, right? The second is, what do you need to know along the way? What did you need to know as a supplement to doing the first thing? The third thing is, what do you have to have people know in order for them to be able to understand how deep the rabbit hole goes when you're talking about this stuff? Right? Because you're applying it in an immediate way. It's immediate, tangible results, right? You say the words in our system and boom, you get an immediate response, right? Tangible expression. Business is the same way. What policy, what phrasing, what release of the words out of your face hole will cause the individual on the other side to respond and act accordingly. Right? You go back into the level 4 stuff. What's the best use of it? You know, what is the stuff that needs to be done that has been done by the best use of the application of your methodologies? Right? So for me in the beginning, I stuck to men of faith because men of faith listen, right? Ladies, lots in their fields. Guys more logic-based. Guys being more logic-based helped in the beginning for me to learn how to get into my emotions more so that I could be that heart-centered, you know, person that I was aiming at being, because, you know, being a salty son of a bitch is not fun for anybody, right? It's not. So you got to have some fun. There's got to be some levity. You got to have some craziness in there. You know, it's just a little bit of wacky. Right? And that's when life gets fun. And then we get into the flaws of the system. What are the holes that you need reinforcement in, right? It's when it comes to spells and rituals, those are repeatable. You want to make sure that those things are rote memory, right? As meticulous and operational as you can get. Your ritual or your spell should function like a machine. That's what's causing the manifestation. If you fuck off, that vibration won't be right and you won't get the result that you're looking for. If you don't time it right, it'll be in the wrong season, and that wrong season brings in an energy you don't need, right? And so understanding this, your first line of information, the thing that you're going to do very first about all of your stuff is your tier one operations. This is good what you focus for the entire year on doing. Okay. You can focus 1 month on doing your level 1 stuff. You can focus your second month on doing your level 7 stuff. You can focus your second or your third month on your level 4 stuff. You can jump around and you can put it together however you want. But this is the first run of information that people are going to need to know in relation to the thing that they're talking about, or that you're going to talk about in relationship with them, right? It's how do you log into ClickFunnels? How do you go live on Facebook? How do you structure a challenge? How do you structure a mentorship program so that it's an ongoing evergreen thing and you can just incorporate people on the way, right? What are you doing in month 1? What are you doing in month 2? And what are you doing in month 3? So that by the time month 2 rolls around and you're enrolling people in your month 2 class, well, the month 1 people have already gone through it. So the month 2 people can now all get grouped together and it's month 2 content, regardless of what happened in month 1. So that as everybody in month 2 progresses into month 3, as you enroll everybody in, that's that last month and period where those first group of people are on the way out. So they become the teachers of the second generation and third generation. So by the time the third generation comes up and it's their third month, there will already be a second level and a second first level already in action, so that these things cascade upon each other. And there's always a senior level student helping new students in the same way that Daniel and Mike have Sandy and Robin. Make sense? Second year stuff. This is where it's going to get really fun, right? What are you going to sell? And why are you going to sell it, right? You guys have talked about, and you have been with me when I talked about all of the projects that we were working on in the first 7 months of the year, right? There was the alchemy cards with Paul Hill. There's the classes with, and the game systems with Andrew. There's the other stuff that we were doing with the Brotherhood guys. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff, right?
Yes.
So that being said, how we enroll people in that, what information that they're going to need, up levels our stuff when we think about it in that terms of the second year, right? Because by then we'll already have a group of people that we worked with. Because this first year, congratulations, by the way, Mike, almost a year in, and we've already worked with the Brotherhood. We had the Witches Exodus group. We had the other groups that we've done through. So we've filtered through some of these different communities already in order to see what kinds of stuff are being sold and how we can enter into the marketplace as a reinforcement for what people need, as opposed to taking away just noise in the atmosphere, right? We're able to, by looking at how we can enter the marketplace, we've got the coffee cups, we've got the flags, we've got the books, we've got the things, we've got all the shit that's ready, right? That's what we set up in year 1, is we set up the foundations of that, right? You read the books that others have written, and then you start recommending them. And then you start writing your own material down. You've got it, year 2's worth of notes. Again, notes, spells, ritual processes that you've done, experiences that you've had that nobody can refute, nobody can take away from you, nobody can deny that you've done them, right? It is the tangible proofs of magical practice. Regardless of what it is, in business, in life, in whatever. It's those notes that you take in relationship to your first year stuff and your second year stuff that lets you set up a path for year 3, because then by year 3, you streamline it, right? The first 2 years of retail are the worst for retail because 1, nobody knows who you are. 2, nobody knows if you're going to stick around longer than 5 years anyway. 90% of businesses, actually, sorry, it's more like 50% of businesses close their first year. Less than half of those that stay open in their first year don't make it to year 5. By year 5 of my shop, we were already at 4.5 million. Right? That what we had done over the first 5 years. Like we'd already busted the 7-figure mark within the first year and a half. And that's normally unheard of in retail. That's why these methodologies matter, is because when you've got customers that come through your threshold your clients matter most. Are they having a good day? Are they having an interesting life? What situation? Yeah, you want to know that about the people that you're serving, right? It's because you build a relationship with them. Most of the people will tell you, oh, don't get into don't get into the weeds of your clients' lives. But when it comes to coaching and mentorship, that's exactly where you have to be. You have to be in the weeds because that's where the struggles go, right? There are certain ways that you can talk to people that get better results when more difficult challenges come up. If they've got a situation that you really want to help them with, but their personality conflicts with yours, then find an intermediary to do the work to get their help so that you're still helping them, even if you don't deal with them directly. There's no problem with that. In fact, that's actually more ethical than trying to help them and being a dick to them while you're trying to help them. Find who's going to be their best guide for that path, right? And again, when it comes to retail, I speak from experience on this. My shop specialized in a very, very beginner friendly, some of the extreme stuff. Yeah, but you had to know what you were looking at, right? It wasn't like a shock value thing. And that's the thing about the coaching stuff is like there's shock value stuff, there's that, but it doesn't have to be that all the time. It can be soft, it can be small, it can be delicate, but it can also be crazy, enormous, and fun, right? It goes back and forth. And as people develop their coaching programs, as people develop their training, as people develop their interest in this stuff, you've got to have a multi-year look at this thing, right? A lot of people get into witchcraft and they're like, bam, I want to learn it right away. Or they get into business and like, I got to learn everything about this like last week so I know how to apply it. Then nobody gives themselves the grace of learning, right? It took me 6 months learning how to work a funnel system. 6 months studying with people like Russell Brunson and other leaders in the industry so that I would learn what a software system is supposed to look like, right? Fucking hate it. Why do I hate it? Is because it's unnecessary unless you've got a high volume of clients that you need to be able to expand for, so that by sending that out, you've created a pipeline, right? It's not about the $30 book. It's not about the $75 course or the $700 course if you get the lifetime assist. It's not about that. It's about the time that you spend in the relationship as to why that information that you dedicated time and money and effort to putting on paper so somebody else can use it. It's the expression of why that shit's important. Why is it important to know this method of your magic, as it were, right? Business is magic. Serving other people, changing their lives, selling them a widget, getting them out of their situation, transforming their life, whatever it is. It's all a type of magic. You're taking control of your environment. You're changing it in accordance with your will. Every business does this. Every business does this en masse. And by the application of this thing, right, you can then apply it in a much greater way. So what are the industry events that occur in a year? What are the small local events that occur weekly or monthly? What are you going to do to get yourself involved in those? Are you going to go to the local pagan shop and make friends with the owner? You should. Are you going to go to your local bookstores, make friends with those owners? You should. What about your herbalists? What about your supplemental coaches and medical practitioners, right? What about your Reiki healers, your massage therapists? What about your local card readers? So that if you pull an event together and you get pagans in the park going en masse for the academy, then you've got massage therapists that can come and do an event booth. They have a chance to make some money and serve some people. You've got card readers that can set up and they can give 5-minute reads for $5. Like that's a way that they can make money. You've got herbalists that can make little pouches and stuff based upon specific ingredient lists so that they're following traditional applications of this stuff without violating tradition, right? 3 simple ways that we can create an event using collaborations with others that allow for a better event than just on our own. And this is where that mastermind principle comes in. What will you do to create? right? So the tier 2 stuff, right? This is you're structuring year 1. Year 1, you're learning about your tier 1. Year 1, you're actually in the weeds in your retail environment, morning to close, right? You're trying to understand what's your buying cycle going to look like. What time, how long does it take for stuff to ship to you? Is it 3 weeks? Is it 6 weeks? Is it 12 weeks? Do you have to order it in March so that it ships by June, so that it's here by August 1st? That by the time August 1st comes out, that stuff in the entire sales floor can be redone so that by the time October 1st rolls around, you've moved into the Christmas holiday out of the October holiday, right? And you started stocking your store for a winter season. So that way, every single thing in your shop falls into alignment on the cycle. And so that way, what you do in March sets you up for June. What you do in June sets you up for October. Like we had to have all of our Christmas buying done, those order lists in by June 1st. Between April and June, that was Christmas. Right? Like 2021, you'd have to buy for Christmas 2022. Right? The winter season, as soon as Halloween is over, there is another industry event where you got to go out and you got to go buy costumes for next year. You got to already have that shit on dock. You have to know what's coming up and why, right? What does your enrollment period look like? What does your process look like? So that way, if you've got a client that's going to come into the academy that you set up for whatever it is that you're going to do, when you teach your stuff, right? That's a school. It's a collaboration. When do they come in? When do they exit? What's the certification that they're going to get, right? What is the kind of application that they're going to be able to do? For us in Sorcery, it's the tangible proof of the response for the work and the manifestation that we get, right? You can certify as a journeyman wizard. You could certify as an apprentice wizard. You could do all of those things, but what does it mean in the community when you're actually walking it out, right? Means if you're going to sell your services as a sorcerer or a magician, or as a consultant, or as someone who can help in very real and tangible ways, then you have to be able to serve them in their lives. And if you can't, you need to know who can. And that's part of it. Going to the industry events, knowing who's who, knowing why they work the way they do, knowing why they have the behavior patterns that they do. So when you offer somebody something, if you're going to say, hey, come to an event, you can have something available for them if you're doing concessions, right? So for example, Russell Brunson is part of the Mormon community, right? No hot liquids. So whatever we have to have, no soups. Get it cold, like gazpacho, like we could do that. We're good. Paella, we could have fun stuff and good foods, but we don't have to violate the religious foundations, right? Like there will be no pork at any of these events, right? But there might be there might be one vendor that we get in that does a bacon burger or something. I don't know. But that's an example of being able to plan for the kind of event that you're going to have based upon the proclivities and people's taboos, people's restrictions, people's structures. And you can do it in an elegant way by knowing who you serve, by knowing why you would serve them. It takes a little bit more of an understanding of what does this marketplace look like that's outside of the normal way that you look at it, right? So when you go to an event, say for example, you're coming down here to San Diego and you're going to go to traffic and conversion, right? You're going to go meet with all those entrepreneurs and you're going to introduce yourself as so-and-so for doing whatever it is, because those the most boring way to do anything, right? What do you do? Well, I do this. What? Right? Find that what statement about what you do. And people will be like, can you explain that more? You start off the conversation with pompous introductions or those stupid elevator pitches, and it doesn't get anybody anywhere. If you already go into it knowing who they are, doing your homework on the guest list, seeing what kind of people are posting about it, and then you can make friends with it. So your first year, You really shouldn't be trying to interact with people on a one-to-one basis. Your first year, you should be trying to figure out who's doing what and why are they doing it? What are the supports for that they've created, right? What are the gaps that they've created? And by looking at that, then you could start to see how your services can fit. Then you can start to see, well, hey, this is the type of thing that I'm looking to do. But now you have a reason to make it fit, right? It's not that you're going to talk to Paul Gordon and you're just going to go waste his time. There's specific reasons why, specific what's you're going to talk about. What are those nuggets that you're trying to extract? What are those discussions that you're trying to have, right? It's intentional. You're intentionally designing why you're there in the room before you get there. So that way you're not wasting anybody's effort. There is no wasted effort with this stuff if you plan it properly. And that's what a mastermind does, is it allows you to plan in advance what you're going to set up and go do when you take a look at your first year. And then you take a look at what do you want to do by year 2 and what do you want to do by year 3, right? By year 2, you've already started selling to some customers. You've already gained some traction because you've seen how the market is missing stuff. You've seen how some of that behavior programming goes when people start lining up and they want the registrations. They want the Maxwell certificate. They want the training from Grant Cardone. They want the Stage to Scale program, and they want people that have gone through it, right? Because it's a level of trust. Once you establish that your certification programs are a trusted thing in the marketplace, it will allow people to trust the people that are working with you. So that way your students have more access, right? So if you're creating a program that has longevity in the marketplace, that isn't some fly-by-night operation, and you've actually got other clients coming in that are reinforcing what you're doing in the marketplace, it's what the MLMs aim at doing, like Amway and Mary Kay and all these other places, right? Where you have a product and you sell it, and your idea is to sell the product first. And if you enroll someone along the way, great. That's not the point. The point is to sell the product, right? Then they can go sell the product, and then they can go sell it in their own way. It's like Kirby, Rubbermaid, all of these door-to-door salespeople are doing parts of these greater models, but they're only doing it in one venue. They're not cross-pollinating themselves. They're not creating an internet presence. They're not creating an email list. They're not creating a social event site. They're not creating the collaboration events and the mastermind communities. And that's where the breakdown in industry comes, is like, if you run out of leads, then you're dead business, right? If you don't know how to talk to new people, to bring new types of people into what you're doing, you will fail at what you're doing, right? And we don't want that. No failure. And so we have to look at, why are you writing the books? Why did you create the course? What are you putting onto YouTube? Why are you putting snippets out onto TikTok, right? That shit's not for no reason. If I publish a book, it's because I'm tired of talking about it. That material that's inside that book, I am so tired of that material, right? Because I have to keep going back to it over and over and over again, right? So it's easier for me to refer you to a page number than it is for me to talk about the topic again, because I'm so tired of it, right? The video courses. Why do you have a video course? Is because those are your broken record conversations. You don't need to script those fuckers when it's time to make them, because they're done. You know what you want to talk about, because it's like what Gordon said yesterday. You've already got the notes. You already got the list of content. That shit's easy to write. Once you get into the flow state of creating this stuff, you'll be able to do it endlessly, and you don't have to worry about, oh my God, what's going on, right? But by understanding why you use the courses when you're not around, it's like, okay, so we're going to talk about this thing. I filmed a video a year ago. I want you to go watch the video so that way you have a better understanding about what this thing is we're going to go talk about, right? You guys have seen me do that. It's like, go watch this, then we talk about it, or here's the video in relation to this methodology. right? The methodology has already been tested in the community, so I know that it works. The video is just a really nice presentation that I put together about the principal portions of it. And whatever I left out is what I'm talking to you about in live time, right? So that way there's the general content, there's the safe content, and then there's the very specific to make it work content. And that 3-tier will always exist in any business, right? And if you don't have that understanding, you got a lot to learn. Because there's always going to be the shit you give away for free. There's always lost leaders. Even your paid material will be a lost leader, right? Because it's dead work that you've done. It sits on a shelf. Once you've created it, it's no longer a living object and it's dead and it's done, right? And that's what makes the Grimoire of Hearts different, right? As a book, it's just a notebook, right? It was the best of the work that I had done over about a 10-year process that I got tired of talking about. And I got tired of losing because either my notebooks got stolen or my laptop caught on fire. Like that happened twice. So when doing these kinds of things, when thinking about what are you going to teach people how to do, start taking these notes and keeping accurate records, because that's what you put into a book. That's what you throw up on Amazon, and that's what you sell people in the end, right? And it's not just, oh, they have to buy your book for 30 bucks, 40 bucks, 20 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever the fuck it is, right? That's not the point. The point is they're using your material. Why is it relevant to them? What is the story relevance to that moment? So that when you're tapping into those things, you have the opportunity to do something amazing. It's like Alex Matsuo. She was a prolific writer in the paranormal space. She wrote one book called One Bed Over. It was about her experience and the traumas that she was being forced to relive when she was in the hospital and she was being haunted by one of the spirits there. Okay. I think they pulled it out of print, but it's a good book. And it talks about her personal expression when it comes to the interaction with the paranormal, not so much the paranormal. And so apparently it doesn't do very well in the paranormal markets the way that they had expected it to. But again, it goes back to why is that information known or need to be known, right? Well, because in the paranormal field, if you're going to be experiencing a static place where you can't get away from, you can't do a cleansing in, and you have to have all of these inundations of psychic trauma being shunted into your mind by these energies, right? You're going to have the mentalism in order to be able to reinforce this is not you. This is an external intelligence. This is something you need to protect yourself from. These are going to be the methods that you have on hand to be able to protect yourself from it, so you don't have to be screwed by these situations in environments that you don't control. Mentalism, but also ritual mechanics, strategic ritual mechanics, structured ritual mechanics, your spells, your business techniques, those standard operating procedures that people are trying to make with lists and scripts, the 5 points of this, the 4 points of that. If that shit is not referenced in a time of need, it serves no purpose. You can have as many points and as many principles and as whatever you want to call whatever acronym you decide to use, but that's not the point. The point is why you use it. Why do people need to know that information? And how many times do you go back and you reference that information, right? So how many times over the last couple of days have I mentioned this event that we live streamed from what Pete was doing last week when he had $1 billion people in the room, right? When Tim Tebow was talking. That shit's important. Why is that important? Because it proves everything all at once. This model of masterminding, starting with 3 people, it's got to be 3 people. Why? Because a greater mind comes than from 1 or 2 alone. It creates a super consciousness that links multiple things together. And so as we get into the third and the final step, right? It's the tier 3. By the time you're done with your 3rd year of study, You should be able to know what you're teaching. You should be able to know how to word what you're teaching and why people should listen to your stuff. Right? So that exercise of where do you wish to be and what do you wish to be doing in the next 3 years? This is how we answer it. This is how we do that. It's like, Mike, what do you want to be doing in a year? Thought about that?
Yeah, in the first year, I want to teach people the 7 hermetic principles.
In the second year?
Second year, I want to teach people herbs and body salts and how they're essential to your body.
Third year?
Third year, I want to take that and show people how the 7 hermetic principles and the herbs and the body salts can be incorporated into your witchcraft or practice.
So what happens if you start doing all 3 of those things in your first year? You get really good at it. In your second year, it becomes easier. In your third year, you become a renowned expert for it. Do 3 things at once.
Guess I'm ahead of my time then, huh?
This way, you're not wasting effort. So when you're having your hermetics talk, right? You could do that on a Saturday or a Sunday. Well, don't do Saturday because we're already doing Saturdays. But pick a Sunday, pick a Monday, right? Do it then. And then on a Thursday, on a Friday, do your other one. And then at some point during the week, while you're testing it, because you're going to need to test it, you use what you do on day 1 and you use what you do on day 2, and you pull a community together and you get them talking about it like we do on a Saturday to see what their best use is for that week. So that way you know how to move forward with it, right? So by the time that they're done with class 1 of that week, class 2 of that week, bath salts and or not bath salts, body salts and hermetic principle, right? Now they have a new concept that they can integrate into their witchcraft. And then by offering a chat room that's not specifically for training on it in the first year or so, you're going to get that experience. You're going to get that customer interaction. You're going to get that individual interaction. So it provides you content and discussion so that you can improve your stuff leaps and bounds better than all those coaches that are trying to build courses and stuff in isolation. You cannot teach people stuff if you have not taught it to people before. And this is where a lot of those programs, a lot of those gurus, a lot of those, I'm an expert in this because I've got the 5 principles of whatever. It's like, okay, great. But who are you teaching? Who are you teaching daily that you can share their work daily, right? What clients are you elevating because the client did the work the way that you needed them to, or because they were stuck and you helped them? How do you do that? What did you do with that? How did you uplift that? Right? And are they using what you talked about, integrating it, applying it, and serving others with it, right? And if they are, what are their students saying about it? What are they doing in relationship with that? Because they can tell you all day long, but until they start interacting as a generational thing, only then will it become good, right? I know you're doing good stuff because you found Robin and you're helping Robin. You know, it's 6 months in and you already found Robin, right? Like you found somebody to talk to. You found somebody in the community who elevated themselves to come talk to you, right? And not everybody's going to be like Daniel, where they, you know, hunt down authors and go looking for information. And not everybody's going to be like me, where I'm like, all right, I'm going to run a test project with you, right? But that's exactly what they need to do in the beginning in order to be able to gain traction to prove that this stuff works. Is they have to be willing to think about it outside of the money, but think about it as the impact. It's like, yes, I will charge people quite a lot of money to repeat this process because this is time consuming. It takes every hour of my day for most of a year, if not a full year, in order to be able to get people competent and able to do magic, to do ritual stuff, to be able to have the proof of their manifestation. You want to move your hand up? You want it to be a big gusty wind? Shit happens. It works. But it's so fucking wacky when you don't have that firsthand experience. right? It sounds bullshit. But Mike, you're firsthand on that. Daniel, you're firsthand on that.
I didn't just tell her about it. I didn't speak about it. I took her to Centralia and I showed her about it.
Right. And to be able to demonstrate the work that we do, it's a flow line, right? There are the intangible forces that we think about as sorcerers, as magicians, as occultists, connecting with our mind to the great source of the all and allowing our bodies to resonate in tune with nature so that as we go through our day, there is an effect. But the best thing about it is that that is the same basic principle of doing any kind of business. Anything. What are you trying to sell? That is your intangible thought. How are you selling it? What are the words that you're using? What are the emotions that you're using, right? I don't like to do that so much. What I like to do is tell stories, right? I don't like to tell you about, oh, you need to buy this because it's really popular and all the people are buying. Well, why are the people really buying it, right? It's the story as to why. Like there was this machine, it was called the Womanizer. It's a little mini mouth, right? Pulls the blood flow into the feminine part without overstimulation. So unlike a buzzy vibrator, nothing goes numb, right? Why is that important? Well, it was designed by ladies for ladies, right? It's about a $250 object that basically we couldn't keep in stock because every woman said, I need one of these for me and I got to get one for my girlfriend. And it was that story that sold that. It's not me telling a lady that she needs to buy this. It's what other women were doing in relationship to the thing as it relates to their need of personal pleasure and what have you, right? It's that kind of nuance is why you should study sorcery and mentalism and to understand what your people are doing, because your people will tell you exactly what they're trying to do. It's just what they're trying to do might not always be what they're actually going to need to do in the steps to do it. Like you can't go over here and do this thing unless you've actually got a track record of the doing, right? Like you can't say you're an expert unless you've done something expert level. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
How does one become expert at it? That is the goal, right? Micro wins. It doesn't have to be giant wins. Like for me, it was connecting to some entrepreneurs. There was only 12 of them, right? Well, those 12 people turned out to be the best in the fucking industry. Right? They used this stuff, they applied this stuff, they became the best in the industry over the last 3 years. Like they threw down, right? They had their mentalism in check, right? They didn't go through the divorce like I did. They didn't go through the mental health like I did. They were doing it. They already had 3 steps done. I was catching up for most of the last 2 years, right? So as we do this thing, as we get into what it is you want to do and how you're doing it over the next few years, planning it doesn't take long. You can do it in an hour. You can do it in 15 minutes. Shit, you could do it in 5 minutes. What do you want to do? You already said what you wanted to do. You already know what you want to do. Doing it faster is where the mastermind principle comes in. How do we cut that time down so when you're teaching a mentalism class, when you're teaching the body salts class, and you're teaching how it relates to witchcraft, right? Your mentalism class already knows some witchcraft. Your body salts class already knows the mentalism, and the witchcraft people already know a bit of both by the time you've gotten there. So that class 1 can then help with class 2, class 3 can help with class 2, class 3 can help with class 1. You see how that nonlinear interaction works? It's that nonlinear interaction which is the foundation of the mastermind principle.
Right.
Because there's 3 things that you can do. There's 3 things that Daniel can do, and there's about 300 things that we can do together. You know, and then you start throwing Phyllis in there, and then you start throwing her contacts in there, and then you've got everybody else in the industry that we can work with when it comes to how do we teach witchcraft? How do we teach principles of these structures, right? Because ideally, the academy, all it would have would be videos online, level 1 through level 8, that people can go look at and say, okay, well, these are the level 1 spells, these are the level 2 spells, these are the level 3 spells, and that's all they are, is they're just the spell itself, available for all of the world to see, right? How are you going to use these things? How are we going to do these things? What are we going to actually talk about for that, right? Well, that's what you have to have drafted. That's what you have to know what to do. That's, that's what you have to plan for your content structures, right? And so one of the really fun things is that over the last 9 months with Mike and with Dan and with everybody else who was in the academy's early stuff, right? We went through so many different kinds of methodologies in order to get a foundation of practice. So that way there's manifestation of capacity as quickly as possible. But that's by no means the stopping point, right? There is 7 layers of information, about 12 to 25 lessons each that we're going to go into, right? Like that's the next steps for where these things come in, right? Is if you thought what I've taught now is cool, wait to the shit we haven't even covered yet.
Yeah. Right.
But it's not just about how it applies to the work that I'm doing directly. It's about how does it work with things like when he's teaching the folk magic class. How do we integrate folk magic into high sorcery so that way we can roll out stuff that nobody's ever seen before?
Right.
And it's that kind of collaboration. It's that kind of stepping away from normal operations, stepping into a closed environment, creating in that closed environment something that we then take back into the open environment and say, hey, world, this is what we've created. This is that next step. Would you like to join with us? Right? And then it becomes an ethical offer. Then it becomes something that allows us to do something new. And there we have the basic premise of what a mastermind does and how to do it and who to do it with and some lifetime examples of everything we've done. So how's that for an hour's worth of conversation? I appreciate all of you who are here with us on this challenge today. I hope that you actually do this exercise and plan your year 1, 2, and 3, because we were able to get Mike's done in faster time. Just a few, just a few hours. Like yesterday, write all the notes. This morning, write all the notes. First thing, if you go back into the Facebook group and you find the first 5-minute video, be getting on him to make sure that those notes are fucking done. Right? Because from your notes, you get ideas. From your ideas, you get your dreams. And from your dreams, you get a reason to talk to people. Okay? So I will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you all for being here. And I appreciate all of you all and your time. Stay safe.